Here we have verse 36 of the 10th chapter of the Gospel of John. The religious leaders with whom Jesus is interacting here have accused him basically of blasphemy because he's made a statement in which he insinuates that he's equal with God, that he can properly be called, as it were, God. And of course, they're taking the predictable reaction to that, and Jesus now gives a response, citing to them Psalm 82, a divine council situation in which we have Elohim, God, addressing Elohim, gods. That word, of course, in Hebrew can be both the singular for the true God or the plural for gods. And in that text, we have a statement from Elohim, the true God, to the Elohim, the gods, the plural there, that he had said they were gods. He had called them gods. And yet because of malfeasance on their part, they had been subjected to his judgment and were going to die like men, as we read in verse 6 of that psalm. And then Jesus, in a sense, is driving home the point here when he says, hon, the relative pronoun, accusative, singular, masculine, whom, ho pater, whom the Father, hagiasen, this is from hagiadzo, to make holy. This is the third person singular, aorist active indicative. So, whom the Father made holy, kai apestelen, the liquid verb, apostello, I send. This is the third person singular, aorist active indicative. So the Father made holy and sent. Ace, preposition, takes the genitive into tone, the accusative, singular, masculine, article, the, and kosmon, the noun, cosmos, means the world. This is the accusative, singular again. So, whom, referring to this one that the Father has sanctified and sent into the world, you now, the plural, second person, nominative, you say. You here, of course, giving it some emphasis, hoti, blasphemes. This is as if to quote them now, second person singular, present active, you blaspheme. So the one that God has set apart, sent into the world, you accuse of blasphemy because, hoti, apon, I said, this is the first person singular, aorist active indicative, huios, son, or a son, to theou, a son of God, I am. We have a situation in the Old Testament where God has declared that these people are gods. They are nevertheless going to be subjected to judgment, and yet now we have a situation where God has set apart one and attested this one, sent him into the world, given irrefutable proof of his status. And so therefore, in a sense, what Christ is saying to them is whatever status was enjoyed by those in the book of Psalms, Psalm 82, in which they could be qualified to be called gods, I, in a much greater sense, have the right to be called by the same name. He's insinuated earlier he was actually the voice of Elohim back in Psalm 82 speaking, but the a fortiori argument he makes here is simply that he has been affirmed by God, whereas back in Psalm 82, those who had been called gods are actually repudiated, and so they really have very little basis upon which to accuse Jesus of blasphemy when he is manifestly superior to those who were themselves called gods way back in that Psalm 82.